Yesterday we started The Gems of Wisdom, a poem by the seventh Dalai Lama, and we read the prologue. And then today we'll start with the promise to compose, because whenever in the Tibetan tradition, when somebody is composing a text, then they usually write a verse promising to do it, and a verse in which they humble themselves and say, I'm just repeating what the Buddha said and trying to help explain it and everything. Not like nowadays where in the front of the book they have the bio, the greatest, best-selling, fantastic this and that, who you've never heard of, and who doesn't know much, but is, majestically displayed at the front of the book. Not like that. So here it's, he's being very humble. He says, a magician manifests a double. One becomes two. A questioner and an answerer appear and string this garland of precious gems. Okay? So he's saying, when he says a magician, he's referring to things appearing but not existing in the way they appear, in the same way that a magician's objects do, or similar, not in the exact same way, but as similar. And when he says a magician manifests as a double, he's saying that he's taking two sides here. He's going to be the person who asks the question and the person who answers the question. So that's kind of cool, then you can make sure you only ask what you know the answer to. But I think the seventh Dalai Lama is beyond that, and he's really, expressing, telling you what he's doing. So he says one becomes two, so one person becomes the two, a questioner and an answerer appear, and string this garland of precious gems, okay? And when he's saying a garland of precious gems, he's alluding to Nagarjuna's Ratnavali, or precious garland, which Gyaltsen Chögyam Rinpoche is teaching this summer for people fortunate to go. And it's a wonderful text where he really goes through the whole path, and so the seventh Dalai Lama is connecting himself there to that text. So then he begins, okay? So the question that's first asked is, what is the great ocean most difficult to leave forever? The ocean of samsara. Well, he says the three realms of cyclic existence. So, cyclic existence, the three realms, which toss in waves of pain. So the three realms of cyclic existence, we have the desire realm, the form or material realm, and the formless or immaterial realm. Okay? All beings born in any of these three realms are all under the influence of afflictions and karma. None of them are free, even though there's, the beings in the upper realms have a lot of pleasure that certainly the beings in the lower realms don't. So the desire realm are for beings afflicted by desire, where desire is the foremost thing. You get attached to everything. You want everything. Your mind is continually focused outward, negotiating the external environment to get what you want. Guess what realm we're in? This is it, isn't it? Okay? So we are completely captivated by our senses, completely enthralled by our senses, obsessed by them, and reactive to them. Everything that we come in contact with, we react to, most often by getting attached to pleasant things, getting upset and angry about unpleasant things, and just being apathetic about the rest, okay? But it's very interesting to think about this, that, because well, first let me explain the other two realms, okay? The form or material realm, those beings have actualized the four jhanas, or in Sanskrit, the four dhyanas. And so those are states of meditative absorption where you can remain single-pointedly on an object as long as you want to, okay? So it's after you have attained serenity or shamatha, then you enter the four jhanas, okay, or four dhyanas. So those beings have, it's called form and material realm because they have a body, but it's of a very ephemeral kind of form. It's not like ours that, that suffers from great illness and so on. And then the beings in the formless realm or immaterial realm don't have, as far as the Abhidharma is concerned, they don't have a body. Tantra would say, well, you still have the extremely subtle wind. But as far as the Abhidharma, you don't have a body, and they're really immersed in their meditative absorptions. They enter them when they're first born in that realm and don't come out until they die, until they pass away from that realm. Okay? Now, it's interesting when you think desire realm, beings captivated by the senses, because we're born in this body and we take it so much for granted that everybody, and the way it has to be, is that you're born in a gross body with sense objects around you and that you react to that. We can't even think of another way of existing, even within samsara, let alone having the mental body of bodhisattvas or whatever. And we think that everything in our environment is like so important, and all the people we meet are so important. From the bodhisattva perspective, yes, people are important, but we're not looking at people from the bodhisattva perspective. We're looking at people in terms of who can make me happy, who can make me feel secure, who am I attached to, who do I hate and want to get away from. And so we're in this constant thing with people, situations, objects, positions, you name it, external things to us, that seeing them as inherently existent, then we're attached, reverse, we space out, and our minds are totally uncontrolled. Yeah? Sound like our experience? Yeah, completely uncontrolled. And the thing is, most of the time, we don't even realize it. I mean, people who have never heard the Dharma aren't going to realize it. But even as Dharma practitioners, when we get attached to something, we forget that all of this, doesn't have to be like this and isn't, that crucially important. But rather we get totally dissolved and absorbed in it. And then suffering comes, doesn't it? So much suffering. So that's why the beings who have single-pointed concentration, who have actualized shamatha, or serenity, and those in the form realm and formless realms, they experience bliss that we can never even think of because they aren't in constant reaction to sense objects. And they've temporarily suppressed the attachment and aversion and so on to sense objects, which is why they say that, when you're in these concentrations, it's so blissful. No concern with sense objects, and wrong motivation with people and all this kind of stuff. So you don't have to stain the beds, and you don't have to correct the manuscripts for, how the footnotes are done, and and you don't need to transplant the grass or clean the kitty box or, Okay, build a building. Okay, within the desire realm, we'll put it this way. In addition to speaking of samsara as 3 realms, sometimes we speak of it as 6 realms. Okay, if we speak about it as 6 realms, 5.5 realms are in the desire realm, or 5 1/3 realms are in the desire realm, and 2/3 are the upper realms, okay? So from the bottom to the top, we have hellish beings. We have the hungry ghosts, or most of the kind of spirits are in that realm. Then we have animals, then human beings. And then sometimes when they just speak about 5 desire realm, then the 5th one is the God realm, or the celestial realm. When they speak about 6, then the 5th one is the demi-gods, and the 6th one is the God, or celestial realm. Okay, the demigods are jealous of the gods, and and this is in the desire realm. But when you talk about the 6 realms or 5 realms, when you're talking about the God realm, you also have to include the form realm gods and the formless realm gods. So those are the 2/3 that are not part of the desire realm, but they're included when we talk about 5 or 6 realms. Okay, so beings of any of those realms are still under the influence of ignorance, and the latencies of ignorance, and afflictions, and the karma that causes rebirth that is produced by the afflictions which are rooted in ignorance. Okay, so even the beings in the upper realms are born under the influence of ignorance. Okay, ignorance itself is not negative or non-virtuous. It's neutral. Okay, the ignorance that grasps true existence, the ignorance that doesn't understand karma and its effects, that one is non-virtuous. But the ignorance that's the grasping at true existence is neutral, neither virtuous nor non-virtuous, because under the influence of that ignorance, we also create samsaric virtuous karma, which causes us to have good rebirths, but again, still within samsara. Okay, so it's still polluted karma, even though it's virtuous. Okay, so that was our first riddle. What is the great ocean most difficult to leave forever? The 3 realms of cyclic existence which toss in the waves of pain. Why are they difficult to leave forever? Because it's difficult to eliminate their causes. Yeah, and the causes are rooted in the ignorance that grasps true existence, and that is very difficult to eliminate because it's hard to even recognize we do it. Yeah. Even those of us, we know the term, ignorance grasping at true existence. But when we're grasping at true existence, do we ever say to ourselves, now I'm grasping at true existence? No. We say, I want this, I don't like that. So the realm, you were each born in a specific realm each lifetime, okay? And that realm means the body and mind that we're born with, okay? Now, let's say you're born in the human realm. If you practice the methods to gain shamatha or serenity, then your body, then you can attain that and go into the jhanas and dhyanas. And then your body remains in the human realm, but your mind has become a jhana consciousness. Okay? So when you're in that state of deep absorption, it could be a jhana consciousness, it could be a formless realm consciousness. Okay? But when you come out of it, then you're back into your human consciousness. Okay? And your body still remains a human body, even though you've actualized those states of absorption. If you attain the formless absorption, your mind can go to a formless consciousness, but you still have the same body, the human body. You don't have a formless body. Yeah, because you were born in the human realm. You're sitting there meditating, under the tree. It's not that when you enter the formless realms, your body under the tree disappears. It's still there. Yeah.